revealed the hourly wage a renter needs to afford a two-bedroom apartment across the US. And Hawaii is the most expensive. Hawaii, Maryland and Vermont have the highest discrepancy between average wage and the wage needed to rent a two-bedroom apartment. The Out of Reach study found nationwide that the average hourly wage needed to rent a $1,006 two-bedroom unit is $19.35, or over $40 year. Meanwhile, the average American renter earns closer to $15.16 per hour, while the federal minimum wage stands at $7.25, or just over $15 annually. A recent study that compared the average renter's wage in each U.S. state to the wage that would be needed to afford an average two-bedroom apartment found that low-wage workers simply can't afford the rent in many states. The National Low-Income Housing Coalition released its Out of Reach study in May and found that the states with the largest gap between the average wage needed for a two-bedroom and the typical wage earned by renters included Hawaii, Maryland and Vermont. In Hawaii, for instance, the study found that the wage needed to afford the average two-bedroom is $31.61/hour, while the average wage earned in Hawaii comes in well under that at $14.49. Single quote The data in Out of Reach is sobering, Oregon Governor Kate Brown wrote. There simply isn't enough reasonably priced, decently maintained housing to meet the demand, and rapidly rising rents outpace wages. As a result, 1 out of 4 households spends more than half their income on housing costs. And the problem is a national one. As CityLab notes, the average American currently needs to earn $19.35 to afford rent on a two-bedroom unit, while the average hourly wage earned by American renters is $15.16 and the federal minimum wage is just $7.25. Other states where it's toughest to make the rent include Vermont, which has a discrepancy of $8.90 between average wage needed for a two-bedroom and the average earned by renters, New Jersey, where the gap is $8.24, and Connecticut, where it's $8.12. Renters are on the rise in America's biggest cities, but many tenants are scrambling to keep up with growing rent bills and shrinking vacancies, according to a study being released Thursday. From Boston to Miami, New York to Los Angeles, more than half of tenants are paying what experts consider unaffordable rents, says a report by New York University's Fuhrman Center, which studies real estate and urban policy, and Bank Capital One, which is a leading affordable housing lender and financed the research. While various housing experts have noted such trends, the study zooms in on 11 of the nation's most populous cities. Overall, it's a portrait of increasing competition and often slipping affordability, but the picture isn't universally bleak and looks noticeably different from city to city. Single quote The study brings into light the limited options there are for renters, Capital One Community Finance Chief Laura Bailey says. That study analyzed U.S. Census Bureau data from 2006 to 2013 on the central cities of the 11 most populous U.S. metropolitan areas: Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco and Washington, D.C. As of 2013, most residents were renters in 9 of the 11 cities, all except for Atlanta and Philadelphia, compared with 5 in 2006. At least 60% of residents are now tenants, rather than owners, in Boston, LA, New York and Miami. Nationwide, about 35% of people rented in 2013, up from 31% in 2006, the Census Bureau says. Experts trace much of the rise in renting to the 2008 mortgage and financial crisis, which left some people unable and others reluctant to own homes. And when rent becomes a stretch, leaving less income to save toward home ownership, it's a reinforcing cycle. Fuman Center faculty director Ingrid Gould-Ellen says. But other factors may include home downsizing within the giant and aging baby boom generation and hefty college debt that slows some young people's saving for a home purchase. In each city, the amount of rental housing grew faster than any rise in owner-occupied homes. In fact, the data suggests some homes were converted to rentals. Nonetheless, the vacancy rate declined everywhere except Miami and Washington, where increases were slight. San Francisco surpassed New York for the title of tightest rental market. New York's 3.8% vacancy rate was the lowest in 2006, but by 2013 San Francisco had the floor with a mere 2.5%. New York, LA, and Boston were hovering around 3.5%. Atlanta, meanwhile, had the highest vacancy rate of the cities in the survey, at nearly 10%. Amid growing demand and tight supply, median rents rose faster than inflation in all the cities but Dallas and Houston, where they were nearly flat. Washington's median rent shot up by 21% over the 7 years.
Please subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. You can visit us on www.therealthingmean.webs.com.